Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best Magic the Gathering singles and sealed retailer on the internet, GatheringMagic.com, your #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and content, and RogueDeckBuilder.com, my personal channel filled with innovative and entertaining Magic the Gathering rogue brews. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com, or this week's episode of Playing on a Budget. This week I'm going to try out a Mono Black Devotion, as it's incredibly cheap right now to play this on both MTG and on Paper Magic. And I thought I'd try out this new Despoiler of Souls to actually see if it makes Mono Black Devotion a thing. Now, most lists that I've seen with this using the Despoiler of Souls is actually going for a more aggressive route with a lot of 1-drops. And I just don't think that's the way to go. I'm going to try to mimic the old school Mono Black Devotion from Theros Return to Ravnica, which plays a lot more removal and a lot more of late game cards. So the Erebos' Titan is kind of going to be replacing the Desecration Demon for the 4 slot. And then I also have a 1 in Squelching Leeches. I just want to try and see if this card's actually good in the Mono Black Devotion. And if it is, we'll put some more copies in. And then, of course, rounding out our curve will be the Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which with Erebos' Titan is going to be 5 life drain alone. So if you have an Erebos' Titan into a Grey Merchant, you can definitely swing the life swing. Even if they have like a Siege Rhino, you're up against a Siege Rhino with this sort of interaction. Erebos Titan is a bit hard for your opponent to play. Right now is a 5/5 for 4. It's pretty good. It does need some sort of evasion through like Trample, but we do have the Mogis' Marauder and ways to even whip it back later on. And what's kind of cool about Erebos' Titan is it does have some interactions in this deck. We are playing, I believe, 7 main board removal, so there is the chance that our opponent doesn't have any sort of creatures on the battlefield and then it gains indestructible. Like versus Control, it's very, very plausible they don't have any creatures on the battlefield and therefore can't destroy your Titan. It also survives a Lanquish, which is really important in this format. And then we also have Infinite Obliteration in the sideboard, which Erebos' Titan says whenever a creature card leaves an opponent's graveyard, it may discard a card. If you do, return it from your graveyard to your hand. That actually might be relevant. We'll have to see. I'm including 2 Infinite Obliterations because I do believe that there's enough creatures in the format that we do want to exile. Cards like Death Mist Raptor, especially since the metagame is shifting toward mid-range again, back to cards like or strategies like the Green-White Megamorph is very, very popular. So let's just go over the prices, brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. The overall price of the deck is going to be around $66.80. The most expensive card in the deck, I think, is going to be Lanquish at $8, which is just a 1 of in the sideboard. And everything else is going to be under the $4 mark, or around $4. We have a 1 of Perilous Vault. Whips are down to $1.25. I mean, just plenty of very inexpensive rares in this deck, and $4.50 for a Mythic is very reasonable in the format. A 5/5 for 4, it's kind of funny how a 5/5 for 4 is just one of those outclass cards. Back in the day, a 5/5 for 4, even a 5/5 for 5 was considered an amazing card, and we've just seen cards even like Plukranos or Outland Colossus, which is a 6/6 for 5, that ends up being a 12/12, Colonial Hydra, cards like that in the past. They need to have a bigger upswing than just a high body. You need to get value out of them immediately. But I do think that Erebos' Titan, this is the perfect place for it to shine. Once Grey Merchant of Asphodel rotates out, I think this card gets a lot worse. So I think we better try Despoiler of Souls and Erebos' Titan right now before rotation. So back to the deck tech again. The ideal draw, we're only playing one drop, which is the Bloodsoaked Champion. It's just some pressure against your opponent. We can get it back quite easily. Then Despoiler of Souls, this is going to be a nice 3/1 for 2. And Aztar Devotion, we can exile creatures later on to bring this back to do the last bit of damage. Sign of Bloods, we're shooting a 3 of. This fills up our hand. I would play 4 of, but I really don't think we have room for the 4th. Mogis' Marauder is going to be aggressive, but it's usually going to be a late game drop to make sure the Erebos' Titan actually goes in there for them, or the Squelching Leeches go in there for the unblockable. It's a great card to actually whip back. And same with the Herald of Torment. It's a way to give the Titan some evasion. It's also pretty nice to put on Despoiler of Souls because now you have a 6 power flyer. Onto the sideboard, we're playing 3 Duresses versus any of the control routes to get rid of their card that might be problematic, like a Dig Through Time or a board wipe that they may have. We have Self-Inflicted Wound against green and white creatures. We might actually want to put more of these in the sideboard. It's very impressive in the metagame right now with so many white creatures like Seeker of the Way or Soulfire Grandmaster. And then green has just Mono Green Devotion is still one of the top decks, so Self-Inflicted Wound is very good against them, even though that usually ends up only eating an elf against that particular matchup, so I don't know if this is quite what you want to be playing. Pharika's Cure, again, versus any early game strategy. This is very good against Mono Red. Very good against Seeker of the Ways and Soulfire Grandmasters. And then Drown in Sorrows to clear any token-based strategy. Jeskai Tokens is starting to have a little bit of a comeback. That's our answer versus Drown in Sorrow. Also, if we take out like our early game Despoilers and Bloodsoak, it really doesn't hit anything else in our deck. And so even if we have a like Torment out and a Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Drown in Sorrow will not affect our board. One of Nighthowler, I'm just trying it out to see how well it works. Originally, I also had the 5 mana. Put a 2/2 Cleric into play and then a 5/5 Demon token into play. I decided to cut it last minute. We're going to run a 1 of Lanquish. We actually might want to go up in Lanquishes, but since this is a budget deck, I thought I'd keep it around the $70 mark. Perilous Vault, very underrated card right now. It's an answer to Mono Green Devotion as well as in Soul Artifact type decks. It's very good against any deck that clogs the board, like the green-white enchantment decks that I played last week. And Infinite Obliteration will help us out against problematic cards. So that's just the gist of the deck. We'll go on and play some matchups here. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Playing on a Budget. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Gathering Magic and check out our Playing on a Budget playlist, which contains every episode. Thanks again and hope to see you soon.